Hi, are we live? Okay. I thought Pasta was going to be here. I guess he's not. Pasta, I thought you were joining me. Okay. Can't hear you.
This is a free rant.
Hey, everybody.
This is a pasta learn how to uh engineer the
Oh,
show. There's your purple background. I want to make sure, fam, I get this good. I'm going to let you do your thing. If you want me to read some super rays at the very end, then you let me know. But let's get our watermark up in there. We're ready to rock and roll. It's all you, kiddo.
I had. Did you get a hold of that document that I sent to your email? So whenever you have it, just let me know so I can see. That's because you're involved. So there it is. Well, if we can like zoom in a little bit, but if not, that's okay. Uh, so hey guys, welcome back to the Combo Couch. This is a special Combo Couch today. I wanted to talk about several things because they needed to be addressed. There's so much going on. There's a lot of attacks happening to a lot of us. A lot of us are really just dealing with so much crap as usual. And they're trying to basically deter us from doing this work, from really telling the truth. And so I wanted to do a special fee rant to talk about some of the stuff. And if Pasta wants to chime in at any given moment, I give him the um, go ahead. But everybody give Pasta a round of applause for engineering the show because he is the designated boomer between the two of us, and he's actually the one engineering the show. So now I have to do it too. And yeah, so okay. So let me just go ahead and put up what Speaker Pelosi sent me because she's really upset. Um she wants $14 and she says in the wake of the Supreme Court's apocalyptic vote to strike down Roe v. Wade, Republican Senate lead is plummeting. And so she's talking about, the losses in Georgia, Herschel Walker, Ted Budd in North Carolina, J.D. Vance in Ohio, Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, do you guys remember Dr. Oz? I attended one of his tapings once in LA, and it was so interesting. I thought they were going to give us more stuff, but they really didn't. So she wants us to understand what it means. And if you want to scroll to the next part, she basically just fear mongers, right? She's basically just saying that if the Democrats don't flip these seats, if they do flip the seats, then we're going to have Roe v. Wade, in spite of the fact that the Democrats have been in control before and they didn't codify Roe v. Wade, right? So they want you to forget about that. And so she's asking for money. And yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was funny. It wasn't really something I was going to talk about today, but I thought it was hilarious that I got this text message right before we went live. What I really do want to start talking about is giving a little bit of an update on the Darya Dugina. And I saw somebody's tweet right before, so I put that in there. But basically, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, pretty much, and went on and condemned the murder of Darya Dugina and said it was a barbaric crime, that there is no forgiveness for such atrocity, and there should be no mercy for the organizers, customers, and perpetrators of the murder. So the next thing I want to point out is Maria Zakharova, and I usually, this is from the Russian Foreign Ministry, but Yeti was the one who shared it, so he's the one I took the picture of because I did this very quickly. So the U.S. Department of State's reaction, because the U.S. reacted to Darya Dugina's assassination and the evidence of Ukraine's involvement provided by Russia, discredit the United States human rights protection efforts. Washington has no moral right, for needless to say, any legal grounds, to judge the human rights situation in remote parts of the world, since the murder of a journalist does not even receive a comment from this perspective. Apparently, so important to U.S. officials, they simply ignore the fact that the incident involved a public figure. She was murdered. She was a journalist. She was an analyst. Remember Shireen Abu Akleh, who was also murdered, and Israel did their own investigation and found that they weren't guilty. Um, which is, bank robbers investigating themselves, police investigating themselves. It's the same thing. And so she's alluding to that and the fact that Daria was a journalist. And of course, we can always talk about Julian Assange, the fact that Julian Assange is a journalist and he is a publisher as well. And he is, of course, being prosecuted. They are attempting to prosecute him, to extradite him for the crime of journalism. And I'm always going to point that out and shout out to Roger Waters for what he's doing. He also just got put on Ukraine's kill list, by the way, for what he did, which is basically tell the truth on mainstream media, uses platform as a celebrity to do good, which is what every single one of these celebrities should be doing, but they don't because they know that the backlash is strong. And that's part of an important topic that I want to address later. Too many people think about what others are going to think about in their career before they think about doing the right thing. So more people should be like Roger Waters. I wanted to point this out because I thought this was funny and I thought it was sad. And I had so many mixed emotions about this tweet because, I know Ben. I've been friends with Ben. I've known the great work he does in Nicaragua. He knows a lot about Latin America. I wouldn't say he doesn't, but I thought this tweet was really dumb, especially at this moment right now when I haven't seen him talk about Alexander Dugin before, but suddenly this is coming out right after his daughter was murdered, and the US is, of course, using this as Putin, 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 and this was Putin's voice and blah, blah, blah. And it's also full of a lot of false equivalencies. So this is what he said. He said, in addition to praising fascist, Alexander Dugin, who started as an anti-communist, anti-Soviet dissident, has called, like Western imperialists, for overthrowing China and territorial disintegration, splintering, and political and administrative partition of the Chinese state. He did that a while ago. Things have changed. Yeah, there are a lot of people in Russia who are anti-Soviet Union. Does that make them a fascist? I don't think so. I know a lot of people here who are, in fact, most people I think that I've met here are anti, especially the younger people, like I mentioned, are not necessarily communist at all. In fact, it's very, especially in Moscow. Outside of Moscow, things get a little bit different. But there is this conservative sort of nationalist pride in Russia. So I wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit. Russia is a very conservative country in comparison to the United States, not in general, but like in comparison to the United States. Russia is a just the gender roles are a little bit more traditional. There is less talk about LGBTQ issues, about abortion, about drugs, but a lot of the younger people are more open to that, right? And it's like that in Latin America. So I see this parallel. It's very similar in Latin America. You have a lot of religion, and I think Latin America is even more religious. I don't really see Russians being super religious. I see it as more of a cultural thing. And so there has been this element in Russia that's very much about nationalism in terms of sovereignty, in terms of staving off the West and Western hegemony, in terms of like not allowing the West to come in. And that is a fact, that is a reality, and that is what a lot of people support. It's, the Communist Party is in existence and it's fairly strong. It's one of the other majority parties. It's not like it's not. And of course, there's a lot of opposition to Putin in that stance because he's not a communist, contrary to what some people believe. He is more of a conservative in terms of social issues and an sovereignty, focus on Russian culture and the national aspect of it, not nationalism in terms of the West. Because if I don't say that, somebody's going to be like, well, that's Nazism, and patriotism does not mean the same thing in Russia as it does in the United States, because Russia has been subjugated and attempted to be, they have a history of being just vilified and being resilient to that vilification. The fact that they're coming back with like a different type of Starbucks, Stars Coffee, a McDonald's. The sanctions didn't stop people from living their life. They, when like all the major English corporations left retail wise, they either created its substitute or just used different brands, allowed other brands that were never looked at to take to the forefront. And I find that very resilient. I see that also in Cuba when they have been sanctioned and blockaded for a while, forever. They have been resilient when it comes to medicine and have been just when it comes to using things that are old, like older cars. And people find resiliency in adversity. And I think that's an important point. So when Ben put that out, I thought it was really dumb because why are you pointing that now is my issue. Why is he talking about it now? Um, I've never heard him talk about Dugan, so I don't know why. But the second part of the tweet, if you can post it up, it's the second one that I have there. He talked about how Dugan is not an anti-imperialist. He's a fascist. And I don't really care if you don't think he's an anti-imperialist because I don't even know if I would necessarily classify him as one. But he said he's a fascist who wants to weaken Western hegemony only to later break up and subordinate China. He called China the most dangerous geopolitical neighbor of Russia to the south. By the way, he's also a fringe figure in Russia who lost his university post. That is true. We talked about it yesterday. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. He was kicked out of the Moscow University because of his ideas. They, particularly when he started calling for the fascists in Ukraine to be held accountable. So yeah, he was definitely kicked out. So he was kicked out. He was not welcomed by the Kremlin. So both of these things can't be true. He can't be Putin's right-wing fascist while simultaneously being an outsider and a fringe. So again, all of these accusations right now against Dugin, a lot of them are very superficial in their analysis. They're coming at it from a Western perspective, from a North American perspective that is missing a lot of context as to the population and the culture and the build of Russia and the different just factions that exist, especially after the USSR. So I also wanted to point out this person who responded to him, Henry Lawson's Ghost, who said, your YouTube channel is literally called Multipolarista. And this is a book by Alexander Dugin, The Theory of a Multipolar World. He talked about this, and I find that hilarious because I think there are different points in history when you have an enemy that's no longer your enemy, right? Didn't we fight? Germany and Japan and Japan were allies, and now they were against the West or the United States and Europe and England at that point, right? And now they're part of the alliance with the United States. Things have changed throughout history as what people view as the villain, and I think that's what is part of the evolution, right? And then the second guy that responded to him said, it's worth pointing out that Dugin's analysis of China's geopolitical threat is from the early 90s when he understood PRC, the People's Republic of China, to be an Atlanticist puppet, a gateway for Western liberalism to spread in Eurasia. So it was a different time, different leaders, different just entire systems as a whole. China was not a few years ago what it is today. And again, I go back to nobody is saying China's perfect. And I don't, and Ben is defending China here. And I'm not defending China or defending China. I'm just telling you that his trying to tie this to China is very weird because China and Russia right now are allies, and they're the strongest of allies because the West has forced them to be allies. The United States is poking the bear with Russia. The United States is poking the bear with China. Russia, obviously, via Ukraine, China via Taiwan. Today, at the Crimean Platform, which is a conference dedicated to the Ukrainian fight to bring Crimea back to Ukraine, Zelensky said that he vowed that Ukraine will be, that Crimea will be a part of Ukraine again. And he basically said that in order to ensure that there is global world order, he used those words, that there will be, that Crimea must be a part of Ukraine again. So that is the situation right now when it comes to what's going on. But I thought it was interesting how Ben waited until Darya Dugina was murdered to point this out very ardently. I don't think it serves any purpose. I don't think it's the best thing to point out. Even if you don't like him or don't agree with some of his ideas of the past or some of his ideas now, or he's not a communist, like, are we supposed to hate everybody that's not a communist? How do you build bridges with people who you hate for not falling right in line to your perfect ideal of what a human being should be? I have a huge problem with that in general right now. And that it's not just happening with the communists, it's happening with everybody. And it's really pissing me off because everybody is holier than thou from their chair, looking down on somebody else and saying, this person's imperfect, cast them out. By the time you get done, you're not going to have anybody standing next to you. You're not going to have a single fucking person because you're so busy looking for the faults in every single person. And you're never going to find somebody perfect. You're never going to find somebody that agrees with you 100%. Not your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, your best friend. None of them.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just jumped in because I just said this is something we see common from people who are ideologues, that they can't get outside of their own fucking theory. I just want to point out it once again that most of the theory that you're talking about was written way before the technocratic age, so things are different, things have changed, and that's just simply the crux of things. And secondly, like Fee said, if you're going to sit there and you're going to hold everybody accountable to this certain freaking level, and especially when they just don't believe in your ideology, and then you're going to use that as in a team sports mentality to smear that person regardless of what about, I mean, you're just going to be talking to yourself all the time. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me that tweet came out there because, once again, if you're not a socialist to the Ben Norton degree, then you're a fascist. And that's just pretty much the end of it. And it's just nothing more than team sports. But you're doing an awesome job. I'm dipping out of here. I just wanted to say that. Thank you for allowing me to say that, fam.
The hell, fam. See, he's like, this is so strange. I'm not used to this. Fascism has the word. If you call everybody that disagrees with you a fascist, it loses its meaning. I had this tweet. Let's see. I'll read it. I won't pull it up because it's a little bit. I'll read it. And I said, the CIA and operatives have infested every single facet of US Western politics and orgs, especially the synthetic left. They've manipulated their own virtues against them, turned them on each other, and ingeniously transformed them into the fascists they purport to call everyone else. I said this a few days ago, because I feel it. I feel it. I mean, it's just so ridiculous right now what's happening. And I don't know if other people notice it. I notice it because I'm obviously in media, both at RT, but I also do this. And I feel like this just, I have more of a pulse on things because of the show, because you could read a lot of things on the news, but you don't necessarily know the pulse of what is happening in these circles unless you talk to people, right? And everybody is a fascist. I was called a fascist today. I am not a fascist. It is laughable, because of this tweet, because I'm condemning people who are cheering for the death of this woman. And I don't think our biggest fight is going to be against the Azov battalion or the Nazis. I think that's a very obvious fight. There are people like that exist. I don't think they're the majority. I think they're a minority, and that's a good thing. The problem is, oh, thank you, Pasta. Look at him. Fam, my heart is touched. The fascists, um, I think that we're going to have to fight back are the ones protecting the establishment, right? Like there, I said, it's clear the fight against fascism is not only against the obvious neo-Nazis like Azov and Bandera supporters, but also those who defend them by denying their existence, wrapping Ukrainian virtues while vilifying Russia to justify and cheer for the murder of innocent civilians. I 100% don't think this started now. We sort of talked about it before on the show we did with Clint, um, based libertarian, where this started way back with Russiagate, and you could even argue before that with the Bernie uh, movement, right? Because when they gaslighted Bernie supporters to thinking that that he just lost, no, the election, the primary was rigged. Then you had Russiagate tying everything to any sort of opposition against Hillary and everything to Russia. And that's when all of this began. And that's when we all started getting called Russian assets. And I've been called a Russian asset since that time. I recently also put up a tweet about my point of view when RT had to be classify themselves as a sort of Russian entity. And that's when all of this started. And then, of course, we went into Donald Trump's presidency. We went into the 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 results of that, and how obviously some of us felt that the election was not fair. And we have multiple videos showing people why. We've studied elections, Pasta and I. We've gone to several countries in the Americas to study their elections. We know what's a good election. We don't have good elections here. We have very, very awful, not fair elections. So the fact that people couldn't even question that was a problem. The fact that people started cheering for the death of Ashley Babbitt was a problem. I got into fights with people who were my friends for not agreeing that she should have died, and they said the same thing that they're saying about Darya right now. They said she's a fascist and a dead Nazi is a good Nazi. I don't consider Trump supporters Nazis, and I don't consider Darya Dugin a Nazi. I've asked people to prove that to me. Show me she's a Nazi. Ben, I want to know. Ben, prove to me that Alexander Dugin is an actual fascist. Because I know what a fascist is. And I would like to see some proof of that, because every time I ask somebody, they don't have proof. They're just, oh yeah, they're well-known fascists. But why? What exactly have they done? A fascist is somebody that is willing to exclude and wants to exterminate a certain group of people, that wants to hold all power over a certain group of people. Fascism itself, in one sense, is a major of corporate with the government. There's no liberty, there's no freedom, there's no any of this stuff. There's just a few owning the power of everything. And in a lot of ways, it manifests itself in Latin America as paramilitary forces subjugating the workers to do whatever they want. So I don't see that coming from these people. So one thing we're going to kind of dive into right now, because this kind of leads into the next few points I'm making, the intelligence apparatus, right? We talk about COINTELPRO, we talk about all this stuff. The intelligence apparatus of the West, particularly, you have obviously the CIA, you have the NSA, you have the whole entire apparatus, but then you have Israeli intelligence as well. You have the English, who sanction their own people, by the way. And that whole entire apparatus, especially led by the United States, knows that you don't defeat your enemy by simply hating your enemy and saying, "Oh, this person's evil. This person is just a Russian asset." That's not the only thing they do. They smear, they character assassinate, they find people's vulnerabilities, they exploit those vulnerabilities, they find people's weaknesses, They exploit those weaknesses, and then they they kill the person now as a person that's reliable. So no longer is that person reliable. No longer is that person somebody that's trustworthy. That person is done. And that is what the intelligence apparatus does. They come into organizations and they create chaos. They come into organizations and they sow discord in organizations. They befriend leadership only to then find their weaknesses. They pretend to be a part of the same ideology only to then ensure its takedown. That is textbook. That is classic CIA. You can read it. I think Nick from RBN posted an excerpt that I'm sure many of you have seen. The 6 ways to tell from directly from the CIA how they literally turn people against each other. Ask a lot of questions. Focus on identity. Focus on the names of things, waste time. I mean, it's if you've attended a Democratic Party meeting or a DSA meeting or a progressive Democrat meeting, you know exactly what I mean. So they do this, right? And they find these weaknesses. So they know that the best way to take you down is to befriend you, to emulate you until the point where there's hard to tell what is the apparatus aspect and what is the real thing. So they infest these organizations, these groups, these anti-imperialist coalitions. They infest them, and then those organizations cease to be what they once were without even realizing it. And by the time they realize it, they're done. And that's happened time and time again throughout history. And it's not something that I'm making up. It's true. People can read about the CIA and what they've done. They can read about how they've manipulated all kinds of movements, including the obviously the hippie movement, the hallucinogen. They've used hallucinogens to manipulate people. This is not some sort of conspiracy. This is the reality. This is what intelligence does. And somehow people think that the left or certain organizations are going to be immune from that, that they're not going to allow themselves, whether they're anarchists, whether they're whatever they are. You don't even have to be left. These these organizations infiltrate everybody, every single group, and they've infiltrated down to the Black Panthers, who literally some of them went and left the Black Panthers to become Democrats and work for the establishment. I mean, this happens all the time. So I don't understand why it's so hard to believe that it's not happening now, or people aren't paying enough attention to really understand that this is happening now. So, especially with the Russia Ukraine situation, where every single person that has anything remotely to say, hey, guess what? I don't support NATO. I think Russia is trying to stop NATO. I believe Russia is standing up to NATO. I believe Russia is standing up to Western hegemony. Is somehow a propagandist by default. You're somehow straight up just, a Putin sycophant. And I didn't hear anything positive about Putin from anybody until I came to Russia. And it's only been like 2 people that I've heard positively talk about Putin. And I'm sure it would be more if I were outside of Moscow, because Moscow, like I keep saying, is more of a westernized city. It's more centric in terms of what people believe. There's more of like this liberal kind of ideology in a lot of sectors. Not everybody at RT is like in love with him. Like it's just, everybody has different opinions, but overall, Russians understand what's at stake, and they have this pride for Russia, right? There's this pride of being Russian, and that's something you should feel okay about. That's going on in Latin America as well. This ability to have sovereignty, to be able to dictate and define what the people of this country want, not what people of the United States or Europe want, but what the people of this country want, which is happening in Africa as well. And I've talked about it so many times because I need people to understand that they need to get this through their head. So a lot of people have asked me about what happened with Caleb, and I'm going to just read his statement, and then I'm going to say a couple things. And I don't know if Pasta wants to come in for this one, but he gave me a statement, and I'm going to read it. And he is off the internet. He's going to come back and answer people when he's mentally able to do so. And so I'm going to just read his statement. CPI is no longer, CPI has been disbanded, and that was Center for Political Innovation. It's an organization that was created essentially by Caleb, and of course with the help of others. I know other people that were a part of it that were really nice people. It's a shame that this happens. I'll reserve my comments on what I think that is to the end, at the end after I read this. So if you can put it up, Pasta, if it's not up, yes, you have it up. Okay, great. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it. A lot of lies about me and what has gone on in CPI are being told, but I clearly have made some very big mistakes. I need time away from social media to get the help I need to ensure I never bring any aspect of my sex life into political spaces ever again. I also need time to straighten out my personal life and deal with how this has affected my family. When I feel I'm ready, I will likely return to social media, but these things take time. I know I let a lot of people down, and we all need time to process this. This document was a poorly written work of fiction in which the villain doesn't have a single redeeming quality or strength. It will be easy to knock it down when the time is right. Caleb Maupin. So that's Caleb's statement, which I asked for. And I think people can read an article, and people can read the statement, and people can look at text messages and make their own conclusions, and people are going to do that. But what I look at is not just what is said, but the timing of things, the history of organizations being splintered, the language in the text. Let me see if I can find something here that I pointed out. I think that was important. You don't have to put this up because I wrote it somewhere, Pasta, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things here that I don't really I think are really at the very least suspect. The conduct of Caleb Maupin and CPI is the leading reason I've come to realize I no longer identify with communist political circles. So now, because of one guy, I am going to not identify and not pay attention to anything remotely communist now. I don't know. That's interesting. I am incredibly disappointed because, quite frankly, Caleb is the whole reason I am a communist. So again, now communism is bad. And again, do I agree with the Pat Sock sentiment? No, not at all. I mean, I'm very much a let's legalize sex work, let's legalize drugs, let's legalize. I'm very much not of that ideology. I mean, I pretty much believe in people's personal freedom to choose what they want to do with their consciousness. And the reason I believe that is because banning creates a lot of how do I say this? When you have a society that's repressed, you have a lot more issues. And that is why I feel the way I do. I feel like a puritanical thought from the United States way back in the 1600s really led to more just deviancy. And I've seen that in the Catholic Church as well, which is why I have the stance I have. Now, as far as I don't know. I'm not going to say I don't have all the, I don't know what happened. I think I'm going to wait until Caleb says what he says. But I don't believe in condemning and canceling people who have made a mistake and admitted to a mistake. I don't believe that we shouldn't have empathy for not just Caleb, but everybody affected and what they've gone through. I don't believe that that things happen like this. Pasta and I have already been tied via a podcast to Caleb in a very negative way. And it's like, well, is this about, the situation, or is this a political aspect to it? And when it comes to a lot of these things, when it comes to accusations of this nature, there is a lot of when in a political setting, I pause because there's always a lot of things going on, and I just don't think it's fair to use one article to condemn an entire person. And especially because I know this person, and I'm not going to just throw away people who have made a mistake. And so, there's a lot of people going around mocking Caleb, saying he's a pimp, saying, this is a sex cult, and all of the things that they're saying. And I think that's just immature, inaccurate. And I think that it's really just not rooted in any sort of serious attempt to have a very clear and empathetic view of the whole situation. And from people who call themselves, empaths and say they're very giving and they want the best for everybody, I just find it funny how so quickly so many are so quick to condemn. And in my experience, I have seen people that I know get hurt by a lot of smear jobs in the same vein. And so I have a very cautious view of people. Just, I don't believe just automatically believe somebody because they accuse somebody else. I believe in looking at both sides of the story. I believe in looking at everything. And the fact is so many people just react because they don't want to get any sort of backlash. They don't want to be condemned in the same way. They're fearful. I don't know if you guys noticed, but that's not me, and it's never been me. I don't care. I i stand by what I think and what I believe in. And a lot of people were like, why would you go to Russia? You're going to get that label of being a Russian asset or a Russian state affiliated media. You're going to, people are going to call you a propagandist. Okay, what of it? Like, it's not real. That's not what I am. So why do I care? I think it's just, oh, well, you're not going to be able to work for what, CNN, MSNBC? What? Okay. I've never had any desire to work for those places, which is why I do this show. If I had the desire to work for those places, I could have worked for those places a long time ago. I could have sold out a long time ago. I could have been just a political TYT type of person, and I'm not. And I don't also put the man down when they're down. You know what I mean? And so I think people need to reassess, because this happens all the time. And especially in political circles, one person does something and, by the way, owns up to their mistakes, um, and is still like crucified. You have to cancel them. And people don't realize, like, by the time you cancel everybody, nobody's going to be left, because nobody's fucking perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You shouldn't put people in a pedestal. You should never put anybody in a pedestal, because people have faults, and people have, they're human beings. And I don't think a person's a sex life should be paraded around there. And that's, a mistake made, and that's unfortunate. But that's, you, in my opinion, you don't mix your personal life with your work. And that's something, a lesson everybody should learn in general, because you just really shouldn't. And I think, I believe in second chances. I believe in redemption. I believe if people are genuine and they're trying to do good, that they deserve something of a chance. And I see people based on who they really are. Like, are they real? Are they serious about this? And so, I think there's been a lot of great contributions from people like Caleb. And that doesn't mean that people who have made great contributions shouldn't be held accountable. And so that's just my perspective on that. And I hope to hear more from him when he decides to make a statement. And I hope that he does. And when he does, people will decide what they want to do. But I don't consider this to be, I think some people are making more out of this than they should. I think some people are completely ignoring the fact that an entire organization was just completely taken down. And if you don't see the problem with that, and if you don't see how that is connected to a lot of things that have been happening right now, a lot of people who have a lot of bread tube who have never liked Caleb, for example, Vaush, all these people, they're all like extremely happy with this, laughing about it, having a great time. People like Valshu, who's one of the most sexist, repulsive people. You can find videos and videos and videos of him literally saying really problematic shit, and yet he's fine, right? Cenk Uygur, TYT, they're fine. I just you know, I see this for what it is really, and that's all I wanted to say on that, and I will let people, think what they want to think. I'm in no way trying to defend anybody's actions that were wrong. Um that's not for me to decide. That's for, when Caleb is ready, he will, I'm sure, take accountability or not, or say whatever the hell he needs to say. I'm not going to speak for him. So I just simply read the statement as what he said. And again, I just don't think it should be as easy as reading an article and canceling someone. And I would hope that my friends, if they read an article, a smear piece from me about me or about pasta or about anybody, that who they know, that they would think twice before automatically going and condemning somebody. And this whole the left is really it's really sad that the left just can't. They're so busy going at each other, and it's not just the left; it's the independent media sector. So busy going at each other. The enemy is literally getting away with everything right now, and we're so busy talking about this. Caleb Maupin is not the enemy. You're the other, independent media outlet that isn't your as aware as you are isn't the enemy. The enemy is are the people in power. The enemy is the national security state apparatus. The enemy is the war criminals. Those are the enemy. If we can't keep our focus on the enemy while the enemy is focused and united and strong, we're going to lose this. And I think that there's a possibility that we are actually making ground because they're doing everything they can to smear, censor, divide, and conquer. Because there is so much happening, so much enlightenment happening, so many things are falling apart, and when they're falling apart they sort of reveal themselves. And that's what I see happening right now in all over the political sector, right? We see a lot of people's true colors coming out. The whole Nina Turner situation for so many people was wow. The whole AOC and the squad voting to give more money for Ukraine. The way people have just come out with this label of fascist to anybody that doesn't agree with them, but just completely discarding an entire person for one mistake that they've made. I just really see that just it's just so productive, but then we don't jump on that. Did you want me to read this, Pasta? Is this a Super A? Okay. There's a big difference between demands for more democracy or redress of unethical behavior from one leader and on the other hand, weaponizing that behavior in order to destroy the organization, especially the perpetrator has been expelled. Very suspicious timing. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think you can do both. I think you can say, hey, this is wrong. You overextended your power. You did something wrong here. You should be held accountable, right? To then
Yeah. This is his
also
follow-up.
address the other side.
This is his follow-up
Huh?
too. And this is his follow-up. It says, and that doesn't even necessarily mean those hurt in the interactions were responsible for or even aware of the targeting of CPI for destruction. Thanks to Fee, Tara, and the other comrades who have bravery to denounce the nefarious smears while maintaining empathy for those going through difficult struggles on both sides of the dispute. And I think that is just a very great way of putting things, fam.
Yeah, yeah, you can do both. I just don't, I just don't understand. The issue I had was people addressing you, Pasta, tagging you and mocking Caleb, putting out memes and calling him a pimp. It's stupid. You don't know what a pimp is. You don't even know what a pimp is. Have you ever even been near a pimp? Like, do you even know what a pimp is? Like, it's just so childish and really just stupid. And really doesn't do anybody any favors. If you want to really be there for people, whether on whatever end you want to be there for. Like, go with like the truth and go with like being empathetic. Like, don't go by trying to like, I don't know, just hate. Coming from a place of hate and disdain and just condescension is really, I'm really sick and tired of that. And I see it all over independent media as well, not just, you know, TYT and all those morons, but we really, you know, there are people that need to be called out. There's a lot of posers, there's a lot of grifters, but at the end of the day, they're not my priority. I think that, you know, I get angry when I see that, but people, what is the phrase, like they'll fall by the weight of their own actions. Like, people, it's gonna happen eventually, you know. And I think the priority needs to be really, what is the United States going to do right now, especially with everything that's been going on. So I really think we need to unite more, and I appreciate that comment, you know. And I just wanted to also just talk about, you know, how it's been here. It's been, what, almost, what day is it, like 2 months since I've been here. And it's a beautiful city. It's, the weather's been beautiful, like anywhere between like 70 and like 89. Nothing compared to Florida and LA and Vegas. It's, you know, it's, summer's beautiful. Everybody's outside. People are trying to spend time with their family. I'm not lying when I say the city is very alive. People are, you know, going out to eat. Young people are going out to bars. Um, there's friendly, everybody's friendly. I haven't really met, you know, people get frustrated sometimes when you don't speak the language. And they don't, because they don't speak the language. It's more of like they wish they could understand you and you wish you could understand them. But that's been, I think, the hardest part. And just being busy and working, and having this schedule of working this late, early, and doing the show and having enough energy to do all of that. And, you know, and just adapting to the food situation here, because it's different. Everything tastes different. It's probably the GMO is leaving my body. I don't know. You know, it's just, it's, that's been the most difficult. But what I find is interesting is people don't believe like that Russia is not being affected by the sanctions in the way they, it was intended. And I find that hilarious, because I literally go outside every day and it's not being affected by the way it was intended. And once winter hits here, which I'm not looking forward to, but at least I'm here instead of Europe. I wouldn't be anywhere near Europe in the winter. There's not going to be heating for Europe, and they're boasting right now. They're like, no, we're not going to take it. We're not going to, you know, use it. They're blaming Russia, and Germany in particular is going to be screwed. You have the UK also talking about ridiculous prices. The euro is now lower than the dollar. So if you want to come to Europe, I guess before it gets cold, you better hurry up, because the euro is under a dollar is worth slightly over a euro now. Um, so it's interesting, the things that are changing, and I see more of I do see the multipolarity happening. I do see Russia really fighting back and getting really just angry at the way the West has portrayed them, at the way the people talk about them. You know, talking to some Russians, they seem to have a more favorable opinion of Trump than of Biden, because of the lack of just they're seeming like that Trump wasn't attacking them as much. But I was like, wait a minute, like he actually was. He just wasn't as like, you know, you didn't have Russia Ukraine situation happening. And some of them think like it wouldn't have happened under Trump, and I'm like, I don't know if I would say that. But you know, they see the Biden administration as being very just hungry to go after Russia. But I always say, well, it's not even Biden's in charge. We all know Biden's not in charge. We know that it's the State Department's in charge, and there are people that are willing to blow up the entire world to prove a point. And it's scary, and we should be talking about that more. We talked about it with Clint yesterday. We should be talking more about how to come together on some of these issues and not come together in the sense of I'm going to suddenly become a libertarian because that's hilarious, or Pasta or somebody else suddenly becoming a communist, but it's more of like agreeing on the big things so we stop any sort of nuclear disaster so we can actually have the platform to be able to debate our ideas, which we don't have in the United States at all. And I think some of the socialists or so-called socialist movements in the United States want to force people to something that they're not ready for, and want to only work with people who agree with them on everything. So they have nobody to work with because nobody agrees with them on everything. Nobody will. And now is the time for the workers of the world, but specifically in North America, where it's the belly of the beast. You're living in the areas that are doing all this damage, so it's harder for you to see because you're so distracted. There was this little cartoon that I shared. It was about a rat, and the rat was like, living in, and basically it looked like Times Square, right? Just living in this world in New York, and there was advertising everywhere, and that telling the rat, buy this to be happy, get this to be happy, and then the rat was just like doing everything it could to follow the propaganda, right? And eventually the propaganda told it to take medication, and it was just going about doing the rat race, which is, I'm pretty sure, the but it's alluding to. And then eventually it just went to work, and when it went to work it was like a mousetrap. And that was, that's what the state many people are in. It's just this mindless, endless zombie like existence where you're in this rat race and there's no time to know yourself, think about who you are, why you're here, what is the purpose of this. Like, people don't even ask themselves those questions. Like, what are you doing? Is your life really just working and making money so you can pay for a house, so you can never be in it, so you can work, so you can buy a car, so you can drive to work, so you can make money to buy a house to pay for your car? I mean, it's just so illogical. This is why capitalism has never responded to me. That's one of the reasons, because it wasn't like on a theoretical level even, or on an economic level, that as to why I never liked capitalism. It was on that level. It was on the fact that I never understood why, how that was an existence that anybody wanted. Why are you going to work for somebody, give your entire life for pennies while they have so much money and you don't get to see your family? And here in Russia, by the way, you get healthcare, you get nearly a month off of, for at least, with our, you get way more time off. And you have a lot, there's a lot of holidays that Russians celebrate. It's definitely more family oriented. It's definitely different than what the West pushes, where it's like work, work, work. Everybody goes to work in the United States a lot earlier, 7 a.m., 6 a.m., 8 a.m. Here it's like 10 a.m. A lot of places, uh, if you have a normal job, if you have like my job, it could be any hours, but in a normal setting, people go to work later, they get out earlier. It's a little bit more relaxed. And even in Europe, it's like that, in France and Spain and Italy, people have a different way. And in the United States and in the UK, very, very much focused on like just working the hell out of a person to the point where they just don't exist anymore for any other reason. And people don't know themselves, and that's why there's so much depression and so much anxiety, and so many people are just unhappy, and there's nothing you can do. If you have to support yourself and your family, you have to work. And I just remember, it's like I remember like having to work like 3 jobs, and just like and I'm like, wow, I work 3 jobs and it's hard for me. Imagine a mother or a father with children. I did not know for the life of me how the hell people did it. I really don't know how they did it, because it just paying rent for everybody was like, oh, I made rent. I have enough money for rent. When you're a starving artist, you basically making Rent is like your thing, and you're like so focused on making Rent, and that's like the thing that drives you. Those experiences, you don't forget those experiences, and that's why I say a lot of people who have gone through that don't forget it. And so, it's very interesting to see. I feel like there's a lot of lack of empathy in the world right now. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of people trying to really just think that they're the smartest person in the room and everybody else is below them, and they don't have anything to learn from anybody else. And I think that's a very arrogant way to live your life, because you can learn something from anybody. And um I appreciate our audience, because our audience is always teaching us so many things, and our audience is always, having a conversation with us, and really just say, Pasta and I try to talk to all kinds of people, and we do it all the time. Sometimes to the dismay of other people, we'll piss off um, somebody that thinks the communists are bad, or we're pissed off somebody that thinks the libertarians are bad. And we're going to piss somebody off at some point, everybody off at some point. I mean, this is just the reality of it, right? So if people just want to put everyone in a box and expect them to fit this box, you're going to be very disappointed, because nobody's going to fit into that box. People aren't boxes. And I know I don't fit into a box. And yeah, so I just think there needs to be more empathy, less of this ego sort of, I am holier than thou, I'm perfect, I'm the moral arbiter of the world, I think this person is this, that person is that. Like, you don't know what somebody went through, you don't know the traumas they faced in their life to make the decisions they did. You don't know what somebody that seems perfect might have gone through to get to that place. You don't know anything. So if you're going to make assumptions, be careful, because those assumptions may not be make just completely not be based on any sort of validity. And I just hate the way I see this tearing down of people all the time, just because they don't agree with you on one thing. And I'm not talking about the smear merchants that are there to literally just take us down, the people that smear me, that smear Pasta, that, the dishonest people. I'm talking about people who just, if you don't like somebody because they are a patsock, okay, don't like them. I don't care. I don't agree. Like I said, I don't agree in the ideology. I think, I have a lot of disagreements with it, but how often is that person your enemy? Is my question. How often is that person deserve all of your attention? Pasta?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that's the thing, is that, people take a position on something where the person is, and they let that kind of bleed into everything else. And I'm saying, if you don't like their politics, you don't like their politics. That doesn't mean that, something else is true just because you don't like their politics. And that's what I think a lot of is happening in certain situations. Everybody has a chance to speak their mind, to say their story. I'm not denying that, but, I just think it's a lot of like, okay, it's like a team sports mentality. We don't like that for A, B, or C, and therefore, if they do D, we're not going to like them regardless. So I think there's a lot of that going on. But fam, I could let you go on, but I wanted to show this picture right here, because you are in Russia, and I think, right, Fiorella in Moscow has
Mhm.
got found her roots. Look at that, fam. Come on, what do you say about that?
It's the it's the like anarcho commie slash Marxist slash like what? There's a little libertarian in there. It's
Oh,
Pink Floyd, fam. It's my Pink Floyd shirt with the I'm just kidding. There's no libertarian in there. It's my
no,
Pink
it's too
Floyd
late. Too
shirt
late. You
with.
can't.
It's obviously a joke, but it's my Pink Floyd shirt with my shit hat, and somebody's gonna shit on my shit hat, of course, because they hate shit. But he's Shit's fam, and it's yeah. I love Pink Floyd. I've loved Pink Floyd for a long time, and it makes me sad that Roger Waters is on a kill list. Like it's fucking ridiculous. He's Roger Waters. He'll be fine, but it
No,
really is ridiculous the world we're living in.
it reminds me of a guy that
Um,
that like a newspaper guy would have, like Fidel. And I'm a newspaper guy too as well. So I just want to let you know that, fam. Thank you.
Yeah, but he's a newspaper man, not a, you're, there's a difference.
Is that right?
Yeah, fam. Yeah, fam. So yeah, that was just my hat. And it felt right to wear it that day, I was just chilling and it felt right to wear it. So yeah, Pink Floyd, um, The Wall. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but if you haven't, I recommend it. The songs, Money is a really good song. But it's just I've always felt that way about the reason why I don't like capitalism, because I feel like it's just slavery, the way it functions, right? If somebody could just magically tell me that it doesn't always lead to that, please show me where it doesn't, because the only places where if you have something like a social democracy is where they pay a shit ton of taxes, and those taxes go where people want them to. That's why, and it's a very small country like the Netherlands. And so you see it work for a small country, but I think the United States has to find what will work for them, because I don't think what works in Russia, China, Bolivia, Nicaragua will work in the United States. The United States is its own thing, and I think there's a lot of fear against any sort of collective type of thinking. Um, Mostly because of propaganda, some of it because of the ways it's gone awry, but mostly because of propaganda. But um, if people aren't ready for something and you force them, it pushes them away. You can't force people to adopt something. I don't believe in that. I believe it just doesn't work. It's not going to last. They're going to end up hating that thing that you force them to. And I just want to end with the fact that a lot of the people that say they're fighting fascism are the ones that have turned into fascists, right? They turned into fascists with like I said, I mentioned the Bernie thing, the 2016 election, then the 2000, the Russia Gate, then 2020, the Trump versus Biden election, then COVID, right? COVID was the other one where the anti-vaxxers were the culprits, and then now it's Russians, then it's going to be the Chinese, and it's always been the Russians and the Chinese, but in an even more just insane way. And so what's next? Who else are they going to make you hate? Who else are they going to make you fear? It's just ridiculous at this point that people haven't spotted the pattern of brainwashing and propaganda. It really is. And yeah, we can't allow it anymore. And I think more people are speaking up and more voices are coming out, and I think that's great. But we got to do it for the right reasons, not because we want to get involved in drama and we want to get involved in whatever but because these are the things people need to know about, and people have different ways. Some people watch comedy, like that's why people like Jimmy, because he presents it in a comedic way. He's never advocated to be more than a journalist. He's advocated to be a what is it? Jag-off comedian. He's
A
never,
jag-off comedian.
advocated
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
A what?
A jag-off comedian.
Yeah.
And by the way, DC says, we know you got your Wall shirt on, but have you ever watched The Wall on weed?
Yes, that's the only way to watch it, I thought.
Well, somebody else says, fuck watching it on weed. Watch it on shrooms.
Yeah.
Chat's going live, fam. It's lit. It's lit.
I've done that as well. I am a huge fan of I'm an American citizen, but obviously I'm not partaking in it here. But I'm a huge
Grind
fan.
your ass.
I am a huge fan of it. I believe it's medicine. I've seen it be medicine for people close to me. I believe in people having the ability to explore their own consciousness. I'm a huge fan of Terrence McKenna. I believe in ayahuasca. My peoples did it. I want to do it. I haven't done it. I think it's a once in a lifetime experience. It's not something that you just do like a dumbass, and it's just like it's one of those things, and it's helped a lot of people therapeutically. It's helped a lot of people who had PTSD, uh, heroin, drug addiction, depression. I believe in there's a reason why they've outlawed plants, and they've made us in the United States, made people become pill poppers and addicted to just big pharma. And again, I thought that was always the leftist position, to question big pharma. But of course, after this, now it's like,
Yeah.
must be
Well,
some
I
vaxxer.
I want to just say that there was a good chance that we were going to have a chance to get to that ayahuasca, but we got the phone call and we headed off to Honduras instead when we were planning to head down to ayahuasca territory. And Aaron Rodgers has spoken about this too as well, fam. He should be your new favorite football player. He stands by it, and he said it helped him with
He's
depression and all this
cool.
stuff. Yeah, I mean he's great. Can I read a couple super
Yeah.
rays real quick?
Yes.
Trey Wright says, God damn, Fee is always looking gorgeous. And
What?
oh, fam, I had to read it properly. The man left a tip over here.
Did he really say that? That's hilarious.
He said, God damn, Fee is always looking gorgeous. Osama number 5. Thanks for all you do, Fee and Pasta and fam. And guys, we hope we didn't offend anybody today and whatnot. If we did, sorry if we did, but we're gonna always tell you how we feel and spit the truth to you the way we see it. We're consistent in our views, we're consistent in how we feel. Yeah, that's I'll just leave it at that. I think you did a great job explaining your point of view, and I thought it was a great little show today. And I didn't thank Arem. Arem, thank you so much. Left a very generous tip. We do appreciate Arem. And it was Baba Yaga Forest Dweller who talked about the shrizums. Just want to point that out.
Ooh, shrizums.
Fam,
Yes.
I do have a clip over here of Jeremy Lafredo. I don't know if you wanted to kind of
yes
thing, but he's got his little video up here. I haven't watched it. You told me about it, but somebody else was mentioning today about the armed Fed agents recently raided Amos Miller's organic farm. Would you like to play that and then we'll say bye to everybody? So guys, thank you so much. I see all the stuff down below. GiveSendGo.com/support the Convo Couch. We are revving up stuff to get to Brazil.
And happy belated birthday to Gamer for Life.
I was gonna say that. You just took the words out of my mouth. I showed up to his
You're
shit.
such a liar.
No, I'm serious, fam. Did you show up for the YouTube yesterday? The little video, the little thing that
no,
lucky
I was
for him. No,
probably asleep, fam.
Steve Cutler's in the chat. What's up, Steve? And other people. Shadow Band is in the chat. Saul, Zach, of course, Quinn's here. We need critical thinking has made some comments today. Thank you so much, Miguel H. Zach Curtis. Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. Jilly Love, always for holding it down. Saul College Strength. Saul Construct with his black flags. Zero Sum Game 559. Thank you so much. I think I already said hi to everybody else. If I missed you guys, know that we love you and we thank you for your support. You can always go to that GiveSendGo.com/support the Convo Couch. So let's add this fam right now. This says right over here. Armed federal agents recently raided Amos Miller's organic farm in Pennsylvania. They demanded he cease farming and crippled him with $300,000 in fines. He told me that an alliance between big government and industry are making it harder for farmers to farm. Jeremy Lafredo, great fucking work with Rebel News. This is what we talked about, fam. This is these ESGs, right? We've mentioned what these things are. People don't understand. A lot of the leftists out there are looking at the ESGs and going, yeah, fam, we got climate control legislation done. Good job, Joe Biden. I'm so glad I voted for him over Donald Trump. Fam, this is what it's all about. These are what these ESGs are about. They're not about protecting the environment. They're not about helping us go more green and reducing all the carbon, shit that goes in the air. It's about big business taking over small business, consolidating all their wealth.
Yep.
So let's take a look at Jeremy Lafredo's video over here, and we'll get an idea about what's going on.
I'm Jeremy Lafredo.
Fam, I like Jeremy Lafredo, and I'm going to make us small and make him big. Thank you all for watching.
Okay.
Here we go.
Jeremy Lafredo for Rebel News in Bergenheim, Pennsylvania, a remote Amish village home to Miller's Organic Meat and Dairy Farm. Recently, armed federal agents raided the farm and demand they cease operations and pay over $300,000 in fines. Miller's operation is entirely holistic and natural. Whether it's the water buffalo, the cattle, or even the camels, the animals live, as Miller argues, how God intended, and eat fully organic diets, munching only on wild plants, flowers, and the bugs in their pasture. The federal government is arguing that Miller's farm isn't adhering to federal regulatory requirements for food. Miller, his community, and his thousands of customers counter that the federal government mandates food be prepared in ways that make it less healthy and nutritious. Federal agents continue to pay him visits and threaten his farm, crippling the business economically with over $300,000 in outstanding fines. Veteran journalist Michael Yoder is a longtime customer of Amos Miller's farm and has been closely covering the story for a local newspaper. Yoder explained that he believes the government wants to use a successful, independent farmer as an example for other American farmers who aren't dependent on some larger institution, such as the federal government or a multinational corporation.
Personally, I think they want to use Amos as an example to make sure that other farmers, especially farmers in this area, do not try to do what Amos has done, which is to sell directly to the customers. When you have direct to consumer right from the farmer to the customer, there's less control that the government can have over the operation.
He also explained that the Amish farmland in Lancaster, Pennsylvania is some of the most productive, highest yielding, non-irrigated farmland in the world, and that the people there have a special familial connection to the land that special interests would very much enjoy to get their hands on.
This land has been in production for 250 years. Many of the farms are still in the same families. The farmers are literally tied to the land, and want to do the best for the land. They're not out there to try to destroy the land. They want their land to be productive, and they know that if it's more productive, then they can feed more people.
The courts are demanding Miller fork over more than $250,000 in fines and cease operations until he begins to go through USDA processors to process his meat. It's Miller's view that these government-approved facilities are actually less sanitary than his own private operation, which I saw as extraordinarily clean, and he argued the way the government facilities process meat actually kills or, quote, sanitizes important nutrients. Miller explained that because his farm doesn't use chemical fertilizers, herbicides, or patented seeds, which are chiefly manufactured by industry giants with strong ties to the government, they're using the power of the government to shut him down.
I think the problem we're having in this country is that corporate America is taking over, and the corporations, I think, put the people in government through lobbying. They're having the government on their side and basically making it hard for farmers to be farmers.
Miller is legally arguing that because he's selling to what he calls a private food club, not the open market, certain rules and regulations of the federal government don't apply to him, and the customers are buying meat and dairy from his farm explicitly because the food isn't processed and manufactured at these giant industrial facilities and instead are grown, fed, and processed right here on the land.
Some come from Florida, California, North Carolina, basically all over. They are seeking nutrient-dense foods, raw meat, raw buffalo milk, raw camel milk. So far they trust us for the animals being out on grass, and they can actually see the color in the fat of the beef and the milk. Actually, there's no food coloring added. It has its nice color, and that actually comes from the nutrient density of the animals feeding grass.
I think customers come here because they know that they can get an honest product that they know is being produced here. It's not just words on a label that say it's organic or it's local, that you can come here and you can see this is as local as it gets.
Amos, despite being raided by armed U.S. Marshals and facing hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, explained that farmers need to stand strong.
We farmers need to stand together and stay strong. And we need to make sure the government, we can't just fall for the government's rules and regulations because the big corporations want to take over. And at the other note, we need consumers. We need their support and stand strong and just tell the senators, the congressmen, how important small farms are. No farmers means no food. So we all need to work together in this.
If you want to help Miller's Farm, go to leavethemalone.com and sign our petition. That's leavethemalone.com. For Rebel News, I'm Jeremy Lafredo.
Take my mic on. My fam, can you hear me? There's my mic. I had to shut our mics off. Unmute your mic, fam. Their mic isn't connected. See, fam, you know, you just like, I can't, like, here I am, I'm engineering my first show, and you are just like, you know, are you there? You got it in yet? Hello? No, huh? Fam. Well, guys, I want to also show something while Fee is getting that ready. Check this out. Unmute your mic. Your mic isn't connected, fam. Check this out, guys. You see that right there? We had a show the other day. I hope you can hear me. Fam, can you hear me? I can't hear you, though. Your mic's still off. So, anyways, we had a show the other day. You can see it right here. Solving the manufactured food supply crisis. This is on AM Wake Up. Texas Slim came on. He talked to us about this issue, you know, about the fact is that they're trying to cut out all these middlemen there, and they're trying to, you know, take their beef directly to customer, and it's not looked upon in a positive way. They're using actually Bitcoin. They're finding a bunch of ranchers that could sell their beef, you know, directly. And it's kind of crazy too, as well. We had a little back and forth when we were talking about me being a vegan. He was trying to say, how do you get your protein? And we were kind of getting into that whole thing. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm not one of those vegans who looks down upon people who do eat meat. I think we need to eat less of it. Our move to veganism was more of an ethical move more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, you know, we have to be honest and open about our food supply. And I can't sit there and make everybody a vegan, but this particular show was great. It was with Texas Slim, kind of talking about what Jeremy Lafredo has talked about. This is something we need to talk about, guys. You hear the point where he was mentioning about the fertilizers. That's a big thing too, as well. A lot of these fertilizers can be used to produce mass amounts of crop, but they do ruin the soil. They do ruin the actual the crop itself, because then now it's infested with all this bullshit. So anyways, yeah, that's something we need to pay attention to. So go ahead and check that out too as well. When you get a chance, go to the AM Wake Up Show and check it on out. Fee, I think, was trying to come back. Oh, man, she's going to make me end this show. Device is not connected. Fam, you need to connect your device. She's trying to connect their devices. As soon as she does, we will add her to the stream. Anyways, guys, yeah, I don't have much more to go into. This was supposed to be a Fee rant. Hopefully you like it. Like I said, I want to send love to everybody out there. I get it that you're sometimes not going to agree with everything we say or everything we do. But we're going to be truly, honest. And we're going to be honest with you how we feel. That's how we roll. That's how the Convo Couch always rolls. And that's how we always will roll. Remember, you can do a lot of things if you want to help out the show. If you want to give some love, go ahead, go to givesendgo.com/support the Convo Couch. You see it right down there. And of course, if you want to read that ticker right there, and if you want to see more Fee, go check her out on the news desk at RT Streaming Live on Rumble or Odyssey, depending on what you like. That's it for today's show, guys. I don't see Fee coming on back. I'm trying to wait for her. I'm going to play a little music over here. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. Thank you so much for doing what you do. You know all the ways you can help us out. Go to Rockfin. That is our free speech platform. ROKFIN/support the Convo Couch. You can be a monthly member for $9.99 a month. Subscribe to us. You'll get all our premium content and everybody's premium content on the platform across the board for that just one price. There's also a yearly subscription for a discount. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. In Vegas time, we will have Whitney Webb talking about her relationship to the Iran-Contra affair. Not her relationship, but Epstein's relationship to the Iran-Contra affair. It's in the book. There's some economic ties. We'll be talking about that. AM Wake Up. We got a bunch of guests tomorrow. Go ahead and check that out. That's Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. So that's it for today's guys. Thank you so much for joining the Fee Rant. I am Pasta Jardula, your engineer. We'll see you soon. Peace out.